Kia ora, welcome to the Open Lab podcast.
Open Lab, the podcast.
Where we will be opening up conversations about the transition between university life and the design industry.
We give emergent design thinkers experience on all things design and arm them with the tools to hit the ground running.
You're with Connor
And Michael.
and we're here to help you through this transition. Kia ora and welcome back to Open Lab, the podcast. Today we are super excited because we have a really special guest, Hollie. Introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and what do you get up to?
Yeah, so thank you for having me. And I am 24. I graduated Massey University 2 years ago. And I am a freelance graphic designer, mostly doing branding, illustration, and lettering.
Wonderful. And you are the owner of Black and White Studios.
Yes, yeah, so that's my little one-woman studio vibe. So I call it a studio, but it's just me. But it's my little baby.
How did that baby come about?
Yeah, so at the end of second year, I did Summer of Tech, and so that was my first design job. I worked at Xero in their marketing team, and then after that internship, I worked at a couple of other startups and another design agency, and so I'd kind of experienced like startup life, in-house life, a bit of agency life, and I was working at a startup a year and a half ago, and it kind of collapsed, as some startups do. They run out of money and, all that jazz. And I'd been freelancing since high school, basically doing stuff for friends and then that gradually led into doing more commercial, like legit things. And so when the startup ended and I left there, I thought about getting another job at whatever, an in-house company or an agency, but freelancing has always been something I wanted to do full-time, and I am like a huge introvert, and so I love working by myself, and I feel like I work better like that. And also I feel like my creativity and the way my process works suits being able to be more flexible rather than working 9 to 5. And so I talked to a life coach because I was like, is this a dumb idea? I'm only like 22, I think, at the time, or 23. I'm super young. I haven't been out of uni for ages, and I don't have like the 6-month salary or whatever that you're supposed to have saved up to go full time. And she kind of said, if it doesn't work out, what will you do? And I was like, well, I would, I guess, go find another job or hustle some more clients, or I would figure it out. So she was like, well, what have you got to lose? You should just try it. And here I am like a year and a half later. So yeah, it kind of naturally, I'd been doing it for a while and then just took the leap.
What was it like when, that startup kind of came to an end? Was that a little bit scary at that time? Like, had you experienced that before? Or?
No, I hadn't experienced that because like the startup I guess I'd been at before was Xero. Yeah. And that's not, I don't know if you can still count that as a startup anymore. And then the one after that was quite a bit more established, so it wasn't really in like that, kind of stressful, like really initial startup phase. And so this was very different. And there was only like 3 of us on the team, so we were really close and worked really intensely together, and we were kind of like a little family. So it was, when it sort of collapsed, it was terrifying because the money had run out and they hadn't been able to pay us for a while, so we'd been working with no pay. And just because of that, like the environment wasn't very good, everybody was stressed, and so it was quite a difficult situation. And so, like I said, I didn't have that 6 months salary saved up. I was actually in a lot of debt. And so I was, super scared because I had no money. I had never relied fully on freelance. It had always supplemented my income. So, it was definitely scary. But I don't know, I think it sort of being in that position, not that I encouraged it at all, but it sort of motivated me to push and work really hard so that I could get out of that debt and get to a good place and make it work. Yeah. It was kind of my only option at the time.
It was a driver a driving force to kind of get Power Girl Hollie back up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I'd love to know, what did the first month or 6 months look like for you? Like starting up your own studio, was that just like Saturday to Saturday? Like were you working all the time or?
Yeah, that's, I guess, since uni, I've kind of always done that anyway, like worked a lot because I worked throughout uni. So I was working part-time, doing uni and like volunteering as well. So I was quite used to having like a full-on, schedule. Yeah. So when I, like the first week or month or whatever, I did work all the time. And it was mostly like setting things up, getting that website up and talking to people, going to lots of networking things. I'd actually started Black and White Studios while I was still at the startup, just because I knew it was something I wanted to do anyway. So I think fate was just, it worked out.
On your side.
Yeah. So I had kind of done a bit of that initial stuff and I had some clients. So when I went full-time, I kind of could get stuck in and just do the work. And I was ready to go, basically. So yeah, but that first month was a bit like, how do I do this? I've never just worked from home like all week. I've never worked on whatever I want to work on all the time. So it was just a lot of figuring out what to do with myself. And there's so many things you can do when you work for yourself. There's always stuff to do. So it was like, how do I figure out what of these things to do, what's important, what's going to make the biggest difference, and figuring out how I work the best and all that stuff. So yeah.
Did your life coach help you through that kind of stuff, or was she more other bigger things? Or
it was, I basically only talked to her that one time, just because money.
She was like your angel.
I was like, I can't like pay to see you on an ongoing basis, but I'd love to just talk to you one time to talk through this big decision. And so I didn't really have her to talk to while I was figuring it out, but she was definitely the one who kicked me into doing it. So.
And that's so smart for like, a 22, 23-year-old who's already in debt, and you're like, this is such a big decision that it's so worth it, me putting this money in to like help figure out what I'm doing with the rest of my life. So I think that's super smart. Yeah,
because I also I talk to friends and family and stuff, and their opinion is super valuable to me, but it's biased because like they love me and they, either they're going to be like, yeah, go for your dreams, that we support anything you do, or they're going to be really concerned. And so, I valued that heaps, but I wanted an external person who could be like, objectively, here's where you're at, here's whether this is a good idea or not.
Yeah.
And thankfully, she said yes, so here I am.
Definitely.
Do you also have other mentors now around you, supporting you, or
not in an official capacity?
Yeah.
I do sort of surround myself with a lot of people that I look up to, and I try and talk to them as much as I can. I recently just, a couple of days ago, applied to a mentorship program because I think that's something I need and I think is really valuable. So I'm, in the process of trying to find a mentor, but I don't have any official ones at the moment. I kind of just have been figuring it out. Looking into people online and seeing what they're doing.
And how crucial do you think it is having a mentor? Like, have you noticed when you don't have one that you're less productive, and when you do have one, big things happen? Or
I think it would definitely be beneficial for me. One, in terms of accountability. I think when you're on your own all the time and there's so many things to do, I get so caught up in doing the client work, which is really important. But I also need to be working on my business. And it's quite hard to set aside the time to do that. So I think that having somebody to be accountable to will be really valuable. And also, being by yourself, again, you have to be really proactive in learning and in professional development, and because you're not in a team environment where that's set up for you. And so I think having people who are more experienced than you or have more knowledge or can push you further is going to be super valuable, because otherwise I'm just me by myself at home being like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing a good job? I don't know. So I think it'll be amazing. So.
Have you kind of worked out that balance between how much time you put on the clients versus how much time you put on yourself and your business? in a percentage kind of thing?
Yeah, I try to have Mondays as like admin day or like
Yep.
Black and White Studios
Cool.
day. It's easier said than done
Yeah.
because my clients are like,
After the
it just
weekend.
doesn't work out, you
Yeah.
know, you're like, I need this thing, I need to do it today, or I hadn't done it on Friday, so I'm like, okay, I need to do it today. But I try and have Mondays as like admin day, and I have a weekly meeting with myself.
Amazing.
And yeah, do all that like planning. And if I have like, I guess like business goals for every quarter, so I'm working on those things on Mondays, and yeah, so that kind of is the plan, but
Cool.
not
Yeah.
always works
Yeah.
out that way.
Yeah.
Oh,
I feel that.
it's there and it's in the back of your mind. So
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because I've recently gone solo on Fridays and I work from home, and oh my gosh, that's one day a week, and I find it so hard. Like, I love it, like it's my dream, but just every week I get better or like find a different process.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what a whole week's like. But I think the freedom, like you said, is the scariest part. Like, you can do anything and it's all up to you. So I props off to you. But do you have any like processes apart from, you have your Mondays? How long do you think it took for you to find that balance? Like, was it a year in, or do you think you're still finding that balance? Like,
I think I'm definitely still finding it, and still trying to figure out the balance between having structure, because I think that's helpful, but then also embracing the freedom that I do have and not feeling guilty for embracing that, because there are some days where like I'll work till 10 p.m. one night, and then the next day I'll like sleep in and then, balance the days, but I feel bad because I slept in, but then I worked till 10 p.m. the night before, so which is the perk of freelancing, is that you can do that. So yeah, it's trying to figure out the balance of embracing that and like making the most of it, but also having the structure so I'm still getting work done and being productive and not just sleeping all day, or which can be easy to do. You're like, I just want
and it's so hard to shake that 9 to 5 mindset. Like, that's literally we get brought up to think, you have to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So yeah, it can be tricky. Do you find, like, do you ever think that you're missing out on anything, like not being in industry, or after freelancing you'll just never go back?
I don't think I will go back.
Yeah.
I think I just love it way too much. But I do think that the team aspect I miss quite a bit, which is funny because, like I said, I'm super introverted and I work really well by myself. But I think it's more like the social aspect and being around other creative people.
Mm-hmm.
So I work a lot with other freelancers, like I'll go to co-working spaces or cafes or whatever and work with them, because otherwise I'll go crazy by myself. And also like Friday drinks or like Christmas parties and that sort of stuff is such a normal thing that you don't think about. But then, like, the first Christmas after I went freelance, I was so sad because I was like, everyone's going to have, like, these cool parties and hanging out, and not that I, like, need a massive party, but it
Party
was just...
for one.
Yeah. It was, like, just that atmosphere of everybody having a good time together and celebrating the year that they'd done together and all that stuff. So I've had a couple of, like, freelance Friday drinks.
That's so cool.
That sort of thing, because it can be quite isolating when you're by yourself all the time. So it's probably that, like, the social, having people around you who are creative, that's I think the most important thing to me, is like other creative people I can be nerdy with and bounce ideas off with, and
because our brains just work at a whole nother level.
Yeah, totally.
But going back to that, celebrating your wins is so important, and something they could easily like let slide because you're like, oh, just working, like got to work on the next thing. But I read your blog post, which was like talking about your whole year, and I thought that was so amazing because you're able to like look back on each month and be like, wow, I achieved that. You had a little party, which is amazing.
And that was like so intentional, because I am not that person. I'm not a celebrate what happened now person. I like one of my, I don't know if you've ever done strength finders, but it tells you like your strengths. Is super nerdy if you're into personality tests and all that stuff. But one of my strengths is that I'm a futurist, and so I'm always looking at like what's coming next, how can I be better, what's going to happen in the future. But the downside of that is that I never like take stock and be grateful and appreciate what's happening now and what I've achieved. So having that 1 year party and like taking note of all the cool stuff was really intentional for me to like force myself to be like, I've made it to a year full time on my own. That's kind of a big deal. I should be happy about it. And I try and do, like, every week I try and do like wins and work on. So I'm trying to like acknowledge what was a win this week. What did I do that was awesome, or what happened that was really cool, and what can I work on for next week? So that I am trying to be more in the moment and appreciating those things, because otherwise you'll just go the whole time. Like, am I doing anything good? Who knows?
You're just like, go.
Yeah.
And I know it's so important to have those, like, what were my wins? What do I need to work on? Because when I was working for myself, I was like, oh my God, I've done nothing today. Like, I've done absolutely nothing. And then I was telling someone what I did, and they were like, oh my God, it sounds like you did so much. But it's because I didn't, like, look back and be like, oh, okay, I achieved this, this, and this. Yeah. So I think that's good. Going back to uni, did you ever think that you were just going to freelance, like, the rest of your life? Or, you know, like, did you have any other plans leaving uni?
I think when I left, because I had already worked in design, I did think that I probably would freelance, and because I'd already done some freelancing and loved it. But I think in second year and stuff, I kind of had this expectation that I'd go and work in a team, and I did. But then, I think by the time I left, I was working at a startup, but that kind of felt a little bit temporary to me anyway. I think I just always had known that freelance was going to be the jam, or some sort of self-started thing. I don't know. I was going to make something and do it on my own, and that'd be the jam. So
cool. Yeah, something new and fresh.
Yeah.
Do you feel like uni set you up for freelancing, or it was just like as soon as you left you just had to kind of like learn yourself?
I think in terms of like the design side of things, I felt really prepared. I felt like confident that I could like take a brief, work on it on my own, and implement something really cool. But in terms of like the more business side of freelancing and like actually working with real clients and invoicing and accounting and like scheduling and all that stuff, project management, I had no idea. So that's the stuff that I've had to learn on my own, or research and do courses on, and that sort of stuff.
Talk us through that journey, because that's the complete different side, isn't it, from you know what you get taught here to like expand your mind and come up with that creativeness, but like the business aspect and the soft skills that go with it, and the timesheeting and how you actually get clients and all that kind of stuff is like just big stuff that no one actually even knows, and you have to
talks about it.
You have to kind of go and self-learn it. So what was that journey like?
A lot of it was just like doing and realizing where the gaps were. So I think because I had freelanced for a while, I had a bit of experience in like how to send an invoice and what should be on the invoice and that sort of stuff, which I think I just found from Googling like what should be on an invoice. But throughout time, like, I've realised where the gaps are, or where things could be improved, or where I'm missing something. So, like, even though I knew how to do an invoice, it's changed how I do that over time. And part of, like, my Monday working on the business is that I try and do, like, Skillshare classes to learn something new, or learn something that I feel like I'm not as good at. And I read a lot of, like, business books, which is not the most fun thing sometimes, but
it's got to be done.
And I'm that like nerdy person anyway who like I just love to learn. I would stay at uni for my whole life if I could. So I love like learning all this stuff anyway. So I've just been quite intentional again in like reading, researching, watching like YouTube channels that have a lot of valuable information, and just improving as much as I can as I go, and identifying where I'm missing stuff and then filling in that gap, hopefully. Nice. I don't know if that really answered the question.
And it's crazy how much like personal development comes into starting up your own business. Like I don't think a lot of people realise that you're not just working on the business, like you're working on yourself. Like you're learning, you're growing, like you're failing. What's that like? Like do you feel like you're a different Hollie since starting the business?
Yeah, definitely. And actually I did a recent interview about freelancing, and someone asked me about like number one piece of advice or whatever, and I think I kind of shocked them because no one had said this before, but I said, like, you just said it's so important when you're freelancing to spend time on yourself and figuring out how you work best and, like, how you feel about certain things and what your values are, and especially because when you're a freelancer, your business values are your values because it's just you. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about what's important to me and the type of clients I want to work with and the projects I want to work on and how I want to do that and what I want my brand to sort of be. And so it's a lot of, like introspection and working on yourself and spending a lot of time with yourself because you are your biggest company. And like I said, I'm a bit nerdy in terms of like personality type, so I already get into that stuff like Myers-Briggs and Enneagrams and all that stuff. So I know a lot about how I work and am still figuring out why I react to certain things certain ways, or why I work best in certain situations or not. So it's definitely very
confronting.
And when you are like with yourself all the time, you have to be your own like best company, so you have to like love yourself and like love what you're doing. So
do you reckon deep diving inside yourself kind of thing? I don't know. Does that sound gross?
No, it doesn't.
I don't know. Okay, deep diving into your personality and all that. Do you reckon that's enabled the universe to deliver perfect clients to you?
I think it definitely, I believe sort of that what you put out there is what will come back to you. And so the way that I work and the way that I talk about my work and the way that I share my work, I think hopefully will bring, the type of clients that I want to work with. And like I probably need to word it, like be more explicit on my website and stuff about who I want to work with. But I think it's pretty clear to most people on my website or through talking to me, like that I want to work with people who are like, my ideal client basically is people who are starting or working on something that they're super passionate about and that is like socially beneficial. Like I don't want to work with anything that's like detrimental to anybody or anything, or that is, I'm not really pumped on working on projects that are solely to like make money. I'd way rather work on something that is like somebody's passion project or is to help the environment or other people, or and that's the benefit of freelancing, is that I can choose to do that. I think I sort of hopefully put that out there pretty well into the universe, and then it comes back. And the like putting the work that I have loved and is the type of work I want to do in my portfolio then attracts people who want similar things or are working on similar things. So and your social media game's on point, so like you're all over it. I'm glad it seems that way because social media stresses me.
I think it stresses everybody out.
I'm like social media is some people's full-time job, and I'm trying to do that and be an accountant and a business owner and a designer and a project manager and everything. So I don't know how people do social media on top of everything else. It's so much.
And because you also like do vlogs and you used to teach, and you like tell us a bit more about like what you do outside of the studio. So like you just said, I vlog my weeks, so that's something I've done for a long time. I did it at uni, and it's kind of one so that I can like look back and be, like I said, more appreciative of what I've done and achieved, and look back and be pretty stoked on where I'm at. But also for other people, like I am super passionate about, like if other people want to freelance, I want to be able to help them do that and share my experience and what I've learned and maybe the mistakes I've made, so that they don't have to do that, or so that they can learn and do it better. So I am weekly vlogging my life as a studio owner or designer, so that they can see what it's like. And I've always also written a lot, so I write blogs both for Black and White Studios and for like Hollie Arnett Design. So Hollie Arnett Design is more aimed at those people who want to freelance or want to get into the design industry, so sharing my experiences and stuff. And then Black and White Studios is more to attract clients, so it's writing stuff about branding or design that will help them, and then hopefully get them to talk to me about helping them with that.
And yeah, tutoring, when I left uni, I said to my tutor, because we had like graduate tutors, I was like, if you ever need one of those, please ask me. Because if I hadn't have done design, I would have loved to be a teacher. I've always loved teaching. And so then when, Faye asked me to help her teach type, I was like, heck yes. Because I'm like a massive type nerd as well. So I was like, yeah, I'm so in. And that was super fun. I did that for a couple of years. But now I'm too busy. I had to say no this year, which is a good problem to have.
It is indeed.
But I was like super sad to not be able to do it. But that's right. That's
super fun.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah. And like just seeing when they start the semester and have no idea about type, and then at the end of the semester they're like, I love type, or well, hopefully.
You turn them into like little nerds.
Yeah, mini me's. Yeah, so I think, like I said earlier, like I've always just been super busy and I don't know what to do with spare time, so I just fill it with stuff. So I like writing the content or doing the vlogs and teaching, and I do design assembly as well, run design assembly, so that's like events for designers, so that's another thing.
Maybe talk about your network aspect of things and how you've dabbled in a whole lot of things to create a little persona for yourself.
So like design assembly is a massive part of that, so I like plan, host and run the events, and sometimes at the last one I was on the panel as well, so that was pretty cool. And that's awesome because I get to like give back to the design community, see like students and other people learning about design, which is awesome. And also I get to meet a whole bunch of cool people, especially like the speakers. That's so fun, like meeting these people who are so smart at what they do. I just am like, how am I hanging out with you right now? This is amazing. And like meeting the attendees and being able to talk to them or learn from them or they learn from me is really cool. And so I've always loved, even though I'm introverted, I have learnt to love going to design events. They used to stress me out so much because I felt like it was something I had to do, especially when I first started. It was like, because most design work comes through networking, people that I know, word of mouth, I felt like I had to go to these events or go and like schmooze some people. But over time I've been to more and more. I've started hosting these design assembly ones, and now I love going, and it's really helped business as well, I think, because people know that I'm part of the community and they know who I am because I'm there all the time, and they know what I do. And so I've met quite a few clients or people who will then refer me to a client, so that's super beneficial. Definitely something I recommend is going along to things like that, because otherwise people might not know who you are, and meeting them is the first step. So
I feel the exact same. Like, those events are so beneficial, and each time I've gone, I've learnt so much or met like someone really amazing. But I always get super nervous. Like, I don't know what it is, just like putting yourself out there. But I think the key is, getting out of your comfort zone. And just doing it, because it'll always pay off, but it's just like that scary moment. and me and Michael always like have events or something, and we tend to like stick with each other and then not go and talk to people, and we're like, okay, we have to go talk to people.
Gotta split up.
We're like, we can do it.
I think that's what's good about like doing design assembly, has kind of forced me to do that. I don't have a choice. People come and talk to me because I'm hosting it, and so it's kind of thrown me in the deep end and made me be like, okay, I need to figure out how to like hold a really good conversation with these people and see what they're interested in, how like maybe I can help, or even not, like just have a conversation that has no purpose or like outcome. You don't have to go into it being like, what can I get from this conversation, or what can they get from what are they going to want from me. It's just I've been forced to figure that out, and it's definitely made a difference from like really shy, introverted, socially awkward, like
Baby
younger
Hollie.
Hollie.
I love it.
Uni Hollie would have been like, oh.
Yeah. And that's honestly like such a skill, because design and like owning your own business is all about people. Like at the end of the day, we're designing for people, and so like you said, not having an outcome, because I think so many people get attached to like, what are they going to want from me? What am I going to ask them? But at the end of the day, we're all humans, and like we can talk about the weather because it's Wellington.
Yeah.
And like at uni, there are so many events that you can go to. Like at Massey, you've got Banjos and Brews, you've got Creative Mornings, you can go to Design Assembly. Like, I highly recommend going to those events and just chatting, just like getting back to basics, I reckon.
Yeah, and a lot of them are free as well, so it's like, it's not like you're financially invested in it, and so you feel like you have to make the most of it or get your money's worth or whatever. You can just go and have a good time.
And most of them have free food,
yeah,
coffee,
also, it's such a benefit. Yeah.
That's straight to my heart, that is.
Donuts,
God.
you name it.
I'm so here for that.
It's quite funny because I feel like I've got that whole introvertedness as well with my personality, and like, but somehow I think we also thrive on putting ourselves out there in those awkward situations. Like, it's so weird. It's like this yin and yang thing going on that you love it, but you hate it, but you got to do it because you just thrive on it.
And I think that's why it pays off so much, because I feel the exact same. Like, I can be so introverted and then just like completely put myself out there and like record a live or something, and then afterwards you just get that like absolute like buzz, and you're like, holy shit, did I just do that?
I think because it's more of an achievement for us, right? It's like extroverted people, seems so easy for them to just talk and whatever, but for us it's so difficult. So when you do it, you're like, oh my gosh, I overcame this, and I did a great job. Woo, go me. I think also, like, have you guys done Myers-Briggs?
I've done many of them.
Maybe back in the day.
I can't remember which ones. Does that one go?
I'm gonna do it right after this.
One?
That's the one where you get 4 letters.
Yeah.
So I'm INFJ.
Oh my
which
gosh,
is
yes.
the advocate, and so that's like a people person. Like, even though like I recharge by myself, I'm all about people and relationships and like making sure people are treated fairly and like advocating for people. And so it's kind of that weird mix of like, I want to be by myself, but I also love people, but I'm not like extrovert. Yeah.
I remember, because I was like I keep questioning. I was like, am I an introvert or am I an extrovert? And someone was like, you can be both. And then I did that, and I was like legit smack bang in the middle, and I was just like, oh, I get it now. Definitely recharge alone, and then I need people.
That's why those things are so good though, because you're like, oh, that makes so much sense. Or like, there was one time where I was reading, there's like an introvert blog, and they had stuff about INFJs, and I cried.
Oh my goodness.
Because I was like, I thought
Amazing.
I was like so weird in these things, and I thought I was like the only person who was feeling like this, and then I read these things and other people were exactly the same, and I was like, oh,
that's
my people.
so amazing.
My people. I was like, I'm not this weird person who, I was like, oh my gosh, am I crying at this?
So cute.
I love that. Big question. Looking back on this whole journey of yours, what would you say has been your biggest lesson?
My biggest lesson? Well, that is a big question. I think, like, personally, my biggest lesson is that I can do this. I think, like, I'm just a natural stressor and worrier, and, like, I sort of not doubt that I can do it, but I don't necessarily always feel super confident. And, like, I look at all these other people on social media, which I shouldn't do, but I do, and see them doing these amazing things, and I'm like, I can never do that. But looking back, and this is why it was so important for me to do those like celebrations and take note of these things, is that I have done it. Like, I have achieved this, and I have done this, and I can do whatever I put my mind to. And I think some people, if you told them that a 22-year-old was going to freelance full-time and she had no money saved up and had only ever part-time freelance, people would probably be like, she's crazy. What is she doing? This is not going to work. And I think maybe like some people probably did think that when I told them, but it's, I've proven that I can do it. And I think that's the biggest lesson, is that there are moments still where I'm like, why am I doing this? That person shouldn't have paid me. Like, this is crazy. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to pull this off. But then I should just be confident and know that I can, and I have before, so I should. Yeah. I don't know. It's a bit of
that just gave me goosebumps. Like, I just love it. But testament to you, because like you said, when I was looking at your blog and like your Instagram, you were that person. I was like, oh my gosh, how are they doing that? Like, I need to be doing that. You vlog every week. You like run a studio. And like on top of that, her design is amazing. Like, you create beautiful, holistic projects for people. So I think you should be super proud.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that's part of the lesson is that, like, people see that in me, but I don't always see that in myself. Like, I just am working all the time and always being like, I can do better, or this isn't enough, whatever. But then other people like you are like, oh my gosh, like, I read your blog every week, it's so good, or like, I love your work, and clients come to me and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I am doing a good job. But when you're just in the moment and like working all the time and hustling, well, I kind of hate that word, but hustling, it's hard to recognize that you are doing a good job, and you know you can do these things.
Definitely. And because you said you're a futurist, so you're always planning like the next big thing, or like what you're going to do better next time. Do you have any plans for future Hollie or Black and White Studios?
I am still trying to figure out like where Black and White Studios is going to go. I think people have asked me a lot if I'm going to like turn it into an agency and like hire other designers and all that stuff, and I think that would be cool, but I'm not sure if that's where I'm going to go. I think I'd more like to collaborate with other creatives who do different things to me. So, like, because my focus is branding, maybe I can work with animators who can like animate logos, or I can work with videographers and photographers who can create content for the brands that I work on, or whatever. But I'm currently starting to work on more content, so I'm hopefully going to be doing a course on like brand strategy so that I can have some semi-passive income, but not really, but more getting more content out to help people with branding and design, and that's kind of where I'm at now. Just
exciting.
Keep going, keep paying my bills. That's the key. Yeah, that's the goal.
If you could give one piece of advice to like Hollie at uni, like leaving uni and like maybe when you're going through all the struggles of finding a job and all that stuff, major project, what would your piece of advice be?
I think my advice would be to just be open to opportunities and take them and not be scared of where it will lead to. Yeah, futurist Hollie is like, what is this going to mean? But I think there are so many opportunities out there just waiting for you. So just take them and see what happens, and don't be scared, and just take the leap. Hopefully it will work out.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. We really appreciate it. And I feel like I've learnt so much. What about you, Michael?
Oh, totally. No, I've always loved Hollie in the background, just seeing her flourish and grow. And it's really cool to hear your journey. So, thank you for coming along.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. And if you want to see any more from us, you can head over to our Instagram, which is openlabnz, or head to our website, and all the details are in the show notes. Can't wait to talk to you soon.
Bye.
Ka kite.